What if a single act of kindness could change the fate of two worlds? When 26-year-old Liam Carter stumbled upon a crashed spacecraft in the woods, he had no idea the alien girl inside would heal his deepest wounds. But her gift came with a price neither of them could have imagined. A price that would test their bond, their courage, and the very fabric of their existence. This is the story of the alien girl's gift, a tale of sacrifice, power, and the light that binds us all. Story begins as, it was a quiet Tuesday morning when 26-year-old Liam Carter heard the explosion. He was walking home from school, his backpack slung over one shoulder, when the ground shook beneath his feet. The sky, which had been a clear blue just moments ago, was now filled with smoke and a strange, glowing light. Liam froze, his heart pounding. What the? Before he could finish, a loud whoosh filled the air, and something crashed in the woods just outside his small town of Maplewood. The sound was deafening, like 1,000 thunderclaps at once. Without thinking, Liam dropped his backpack and ran toward the crash site. His sneakers pounded against the dirt path, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The woods were thick, but the trail of smoke made it easy to follow. When he reached the clearing, his breath caught in his throat. A small, silver spacecraft lay half buried in the ground, its surface scorched and smoking. The air smelled like burnt metal and something sweet, almost like honey. Liam hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to run. But then he heard it, a soft, pained groan coming from inside the wreckage. "Hello," he called, his voice trembling. "Is someone in there?" There was no answer, just another groan. Liam clenched his fists, took a deep breath, and stepped closer. The door of the spacecraft was partially open, and inside he saw her. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin was a pale, shimmering silver, and her hair was long and jet black, flowing like water. Her eyes, though closed, glowed faintly, and her body was covered in strange, glowing markings that pulsed like a heartbeat. She looked fragile, almost ethereal, but there was something about her that felt powerful, like a storm waiting to break. "Hey," Liam said softly, crouching beside her. "Are you okay?" Her eyes fluttered open, and Liam gasped. They were deep, swirling blue, like the ocean at night. She looked at him, her expression a mix of pain and confusion. "Help me," she whispered, her voice echoing strangely, as if it were coming from far away. Liam didn't hesitate. He reached out and gently lifted her from the wreckage. She was lighter than he expected, almost like she was made of air. Her skin was cool to the touch, and the glowing markings on her body seemed to react to his presence, pulsing brighter for a moment before dimming again. "I've got you," he said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "I'll get you somewhere safe." As he carried her out of the woods, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change forever. The girl in his arms wasn't human. That much was obvious. But there was something about her, something that made him feel like he was meant to find her. When they reached the edge of the woods, Liam hesitated. His house was just a few blocks away, but how was he supposed to explain this to his parents? He couldn't exactly walk in with an alien girl and say, "Hey Mom, Dad, look what I found in the woods." "Okay," he muttered to himself. "Back door it is." He snuck around to the back of the house, careful to avoid the kitchen window where his mom was probably making lunch. The back door creaked as he opened it, and he winced, holding his breath. But no one came running, so he slipped inside and carried the girl up to his room. He laid her on his bed, her glowing markings casting a soft light across the room. She looked even more otherworldly in the dim light, her silver skin shimmering like moonlight. "What's your name?" he asked, sitting beside her. She blinked up at him, her swirling blue eyes filled with pain. "I am Nova," she said, her voice still echoing. "Nova," Liam repeated. "I'm Liam. What happened to you?" Nova winced, her hand clutching her side. "My ship had malfunctioned. I was sent here to help." But now, her voice trailed off, and Liam noticed a deep, glowing wound on her side. It wasn't bleeding, but it pulsed with a strange, dark light. "You're hurt," Liam said, his voice filled with concern. "What can I do?" Nova reached out, her hand trembling as she touched his arm. You are injured too. Liam frowned. What? No, I'm fine. But Nova's glowing eyes locked onto his left leg, where an old soccer injury had left him with a constant ache. He had almost forgotten about it, but now, as she pointed it out, the pain seemed to flare up. How did you? Before he could finish, Nova placed her hand over his leg. A warm, golden light spread from her fingers, enveloping his leg in a soft glow. Liam gasped as the pain vanished, replaced by a feeling of warmth and strength he hadn't felt in years. What did you do? He asked, his voice filled with awe. Nova's milid viakli. I healed you. It is my gift. Liam stared at her, his mind racing. You can heal people? Nova nodded, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. Yes, but my power, it comes with a price. Liam frowned. What kind of price? But before Nova could answer, her eyes fluttered closed, and she fell unconscious. Liam sat there, staring at her, his heart pounding. He had so many questions, but one thing was clear. Nova was special. And whatever price her gift came with, he was about to find out. Liam kept Nova hidden in his room for the next few days, sneaking her food and water when his parents weren't looking. Her wound slowly began to heal, but she was still weak, her glowing markings flickering like a dying light bulb. Each time he checked on her, he couldn't help but marvel at how otherworldly she looked, her silver skin shimmering faintly in the dim light of his room. You need to rest, Liam said one evening, sitting beside her on the edge of the bed. You're not getting better. Nova shook her head, her swirling blue eyes filled with determination. I cannot rest. My mission, it is too important. What mission? Liam asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. Nova hesitated, then sighed. I was sent here to heal your world. But my power, it is not unlimited. Every time I use it, it takes a piece of me. Liam's eyes widened. What do you mean, a piece of you? Nova looked down at her hands, her glowing markings pulsing faintly. When I heal, I give a part of my life force. If I use too much, I will fade away. Liam's heart sank. So, every time you heal someone, you're dying? Nova nodded, her expression solemn. Yes, but it is my purpose. I must help. Liam stared at her, his mind racing. He couldn't let her sacrifice herself, not after everything she had done for him. There has to be another way, he said, his voice filled with determination. I'll help you. We'll figure something out. Nova smiled weakly, her glowing eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Liam. But the price, it is mine to pay. Little did Liam know, the price was far greater than he could have imagined. And a secret Nova was hiding would change everything. Over the next few days, Liam tried to keep Nova from using her powers, but it was no use. One evening, as they sat in his room, they heard a commotion outside. Liam rushed to the window and saw his neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, collapsed on her front lawn. It's Mrs. Thompson, Liam said, his voice filled with panic. She's sick. She needs help. Before he could stop her, Nova was on her feet, her glowing eyes blazing with determination. I must help her. No, Liam said, grabbing her arm. You can't. You'll hurt yourself. Nova looked at him, her expression soft but resolute. I cannot stand by and do nothing. This is why I am here. She pulled away from him and rushed downstairs, Liam close behind. When they reached Mrs. Thompson, Nova knelt beside her and placed her hands on the older woman's chest. A warm, golden light spread from her fingers, enveloping Mrs. Thompson in a soft glow. Liam watched in awe as Mrs. Thompson's color returned, her breathing steadying. But when he looked at Nova, his heart sank. Her glowing markings had dimmed, and she looked paler than before. Nova, he said, his voice filled with concern. Are you okay? She nodded, but her movements were slow, her strength clearly fading. I am fine. She is healed. Liam helped her back to his room, his mind racing. He couldn't let her keep doing this. There had to be another way. That night, as Nova slept, Liam sat at his desk, his laptop open. He searched for hours, looking for anything that could help. That's when he found it, an old legend about a star stone, a mythical object said to grant infinite power to those who possessed it. If we can find the star stone, Liam said, showing Nova the ancient text he had found online. We can save you. You won't have to sacrifice yourself anymore. Nova's eyes widened as she read the text. This could work. But the Starstone is not of this world. It is guarded by my people. Liam's heart raced. Then we'll find it. We'll go to your world and get it. Nova hesitated, her glowing eyes filled with doubt. It is dangerous. If we are caught, I don't care, Liam said, his voice firm. I'm not losing you. And so, they made a plan. But what they didn't know was that the Starstone's power came with its own price. One that would test their bond and change their lives forever. The next morning, Liam and Nova began preparing for their journey. Nova's strength was still fading, but she insisted they couldn't wait any longer. Liam packed a small bag with supplies, water, snacks, a flashlight, and the printed pages of the Starstone legend. He didn't know what to expect, but he wasn't going to let Nova face this alone. Are you sure this will work? Liam asked as they stood in the woods near the crash site. Nova had explained that her ship, though damaged, could still make the journey to her world. Nova nodded, her glowing eyes filled with determination. It must, but we must hurry. My people will not welcome us. Liam frowned. Why not? If you're one of them, shouldn't they want to help you? Nova's expression darkened. I was sent here to heal your world, but my people, they do not see it as a gift. They see it as a duty, and duty comes before everything else. Before Liam could ask more questions, Nova placed her hand on the side of the ship. A soft hum filled the air, and the door slid open. Inside, the ship was small but filled with strange, glowing panels and controls that Liam couldn't begin to understand. Come, Nova said, stepping inside. We do not have much time. Liam followed her, his heart pounding. The door closed behind them, and the ship began to hum louder. The walls seemed to come alive, glowing with the same markings that covered Nova's body. Hold on, Nova said, her voice calm but urgent. Before Liam could respond, the ship shot into the sky, leaving Earth behind. The force of the launch pressed him into his seat, and he gripped the armrests tightly. Through the small window, he watched as the blue sky turned to black, the stars appearing like tiny pinpricks of light. This is incredible, Liam said, his voice filled with awe. Nova smiled faintly, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. It is beautiful, is it not? Liam nodded, but his excitement was short-lived. As they approached Nova's world, the view outside the window changed. The planet was barren, its surface cracked and dry. The air was thick with smoke, and the ground was littered with the remains of what looked like ancient cities. This is your home? Liam asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Nova nodded, her expression grim. My people have drained our world of its life. That is why they sent me to yours. Liam's heart sank. But if your world is like this, why would they want to stop us from getting the Starstone? Wouldn't they want to save it too? Nova shook her head. The Starstone is not for saving. It is for control. My people believe that power is the only way to survive. They do not understand compassion. The ship landed in a desolate valley, the ground cracked and dry beneath their feet. As they stepped out, Liam felt a wave of unease. The air was thick and heavy, and the silence was deafening. The Starstone is hidden in the Temple of Ether, Nova said, her voice low. But it is guarded. We must be careful. Liam nodded, his heart pounding. Let's go. As they made their way through the barren landscape, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The air seemed to hum with energy, and the ground beneath their feet felt unstable. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed through the valley. Nova, you have betrayed us. Liam turned to see a group of tall, silver-skinned beings approaching. Their glowing eyes were cold and emotionless, and their movements were swift and precise. We must run, Nova said, her voice filled with urgency. But before they could move, the leader of the group stepped forward, his voice booming like thunder. The Starstone is not for you, Nova. You have betrayed your purpose. Nova stood her ground, her swirling blue eyes blazing with defiance. I will not let you destroy another world. I will stop you. The leader's eyes narrowed. Then you will pay the price. As the group closed in, Liam felt a surge of fear. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to let Nova face this alone. We're in this together, he said, gripping her hand. No matter what. Nova nodded, her glowing eyes filled with determination. Then let us fight. And with that, the battle for the Starstone and for their future began. The air in the barren valley was thick with tension as Nova and Liam faced the group of silver-skinned beings. Their leader, a tall figure with cold, glowing eyes, stepped forward, his voice echoing like thunder. "You have betrayed us, Nova," he said, his tone filled with anger. "The Starstone is not for you." Nova stood tall, her swirling blue eyes blazing with defiance. "I will not let you destroy another world. I will stop you." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Then you will pay the price." Before Liam could react, the beings charged. Nova grabbed his hand and pulled him into a run, their footsteps crunching against the cracked ground. The air was thick with smoke, making it hard to see, but Nova seemed to know where she was going. "We need to get to the Temple of Ether," she said, her voice urgent. "It's our only chance." Liam nodded, his heart pounding. "Lead the way." They ran through the desolate landscape, the sound of their pursuers close behind. The ground was uneven, and Liam stumbled more than once, but Nova's grip on his hand kept him moving. "There!" Nova pointed ahead to a massive structure rising from the ground. It looked ancient, its surface covered in glowing markings similar to Nova's. "The Temple of Ether," she said, her voice filled with awe. As they approached the temple, the ground began to shake. Liam looked back and saw the beings closing in, their glowing eyes filled with determination. "Hurry," Nova said, pulling him toward the temple's entrance. They slipped inside just as the beings reached the temple steps. The interior was dark, but the walls glowed faintly, casting an eerie light. "The Starstone is here," Nova said, her voice low, "but we must be careful. The temple is filled with traps." Liam nodded, his heart racing. "Let's find it and get out of here." They moved through the temple, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The air was thick with dust, and the walls seemed to hum with energy. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, and a trapdoor opened. Liam barely had time to react as he fell through, landing hard on the ground below. "Liam," Nova's voice echoed from above. "I'm okay," he called back, though his body ached from the fall. He looked around and realized he was in a small chamber. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on top of it was a glowing crystal, the Starstone. "Nova, I found it," he shouted. Nova appeared at the edge of the trapdoor, her glowing eyes filled with relief. "Be careful. The Starstone is powerful. It will test you." Liam hesitated, then reached out and touched the Starstone. A surge of energy shot through him, and he gasped as images flashed before his eyes. Visions of Nova, of Earth, of a future filled with light and hope. But then the visions changed. He saw Nova fading away, her glowing eyes dimming as she sacrificed herself. He saw the beings from her world destroying Earth, their cold eyes filled with hatred. "No!" Liam shouted, pulling his hand away. The energy faded, and the chamber was silent. Liam looked up at Nova, his heart pounding. "What did you see?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Liam shook his head, his mind racing. I saw what could happen if we use the Starstone. It's not just a gift, Nova. It's a test." Nova's eyes widened. "A test?" Liam nodded. "It showed me the future. If we use the Starstone, it could save us or destroy us. We have to be careful." Nova's expression softened. "Then we must choose wisely." Before they could say more, the sound of footsteps echoed through the temple. The beings had found them. "We need to go," Liam said, his voice urgent. Nova nodded, her glowing eyes filled with determination. "Then let us face them." And with that, they prepared for the final battle, a battle that would determine not just their fate, but the fate of two worlds. The sound of footsteps grew louder, echoing through the ancient temple as the silver-skinned beings closed in. Liam clutched the Starstone tightly, its energy pulsing faintly in his hand. He could feel its power, warm and alive, but also dangerous, like holding a flame too close to his skin. "We need to get out of here," Liam said, his voice low but urgent. Nova nodded, her glowing eyes scanning the chamber. "There's another way out. Follow me." She led him to a narrow passage hidden behind a crumbling wall. The air inside was damp and stale, and the walls were lined with more of the glowing markings. Liam could hear the beings behind them, their voices cold and commanding. "They're coming," he whispered, his heart pounding. "Keep moving," Nova said, her voice steady. "We're almost there." The passage opened into a larger chamber, its ceiling high and domed. In the center stood a massive stone archway, its surface covered in intricate carvings that pulsed with the same energy as the Starstone. "What is this?" Liam asked, his voice filled with awe. "A portal," Nova said, her glowing eyes fixed on the archway. "It will take us back to Earth. But we must hurry." Before they could step through, the beings burst into the chamber, their cold eyes locking onto Liam and Nova. The leader stepped forward, his voice booming. "You cannot escape, Nova. The Starstone belongs to us." Nova turned to face them, her swirling blue eyes blazing with defiance. "The Starstone does not belong to anyone. It is a force of balance, not control." The leader's eyes narrowed. "You have betrayed your purpose. You are no longer one of us." Nova's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. "I have not betrayed my purpose. I have found it, and I will not let you destroy another world." The beings charged, their movements swift and precise. Nova stepped in front of Liam, her glowing markings flaring to life. She raised her hands, and a wave of energy shot from her palms, knocking the beings back. "Go, Liam," she shouted. "Use the Starstone to activate the portal." Liam hesitated, his heart racing. "I'm not leaving you." Nova turned to him, her glowing eyes filled with determination. "You must. This is the only way." Before he could argue, the beings recovered and charged again. Nova met them head on, her movements graceful but powerful. Liam watched in awe as she fought, her glowing markings lighting up the chamber like a star. But he knew she couldn't hold them off forever. Liam turned to the stone archway and held up the Starstone. Its energy surged, and the carvings on the archway began to glow. The air around him hummed with power, and a swirling vortex appeared within the archway. "Nova!" he shouted. "It's ready." Nova glanced back, her glowing eyes filled with relief. But as she turned to join him, the leader grabbed her arm, his grip like iron. "You will not escape," he said, his voice cold and final. Nova's eyes blazed as she struggled against his grip. "Let me go." Liam's heart pounded as he watched the scene unfold. He couldn't leave her. Not like this. With a surge of determination, he ran toward Nova, the Starstone glowing brighter in his hand. He didn't know what he was doing, but he couldn't just stand by. As he reached them, he thrust the Starstone toward the leader. A burst of energy shot from the crystal, hitting the leader and sending him sprawling. Nova stumbled back, her glowing eyes wide with surprise. "Liam, come on," he said, grabbing her hand. "We're leaving." They ran toward the portal, the beings close behind. Just as they reached the archway, Liam turned and held up the Starstone. "This ends now," he said, his voice filled with determination. He focused all his energy on the Starstone, and a blinding light filled the chamber. The beings shielded their eyes, their cold expressions faltering for the first time. "Go!" Liam shouted, pulling Nova through the portal. The last thing he saw before the light consumed him was the leader's face, filled with rage and disbelief. And then, everything went dark. When Liam opened his eyes, he was back in the woods near his house. The air was cool and fresh, and the sun was shining through the trees. "Nova," he said, his voice trembling. She was lying beside him, her glowing eyes dim but filled with warmth. "We made it," she whispered. Liam's heart swelled with relief. "We did." But as he looked down at the Starstone in his hand, he realized the journey wasn't over. The Starstone's power was still pulsing, and he could feel its energy calling to him. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. "Novas milid viakli." "We use it, but we must be careful. The Starstone's power comes with a price." Liam nodded, his mind racing. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to face it alone. And with that, the next chapter of their journey began. Liam and Nova sat in the quiet of the woods, the starstone glowing faintly between them. The air was still, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Liam stared at the crystal, its energy pulsing like a heartbeat. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Nova's glowing eyes were fixed on the starstone, her expression a mix of awe and apprehension. "We must use its power to heal Earth. But we must be careful. The starstone's energy is not infinite. It will demand a price." Liam frowned. "What kind of price?" Nova hesitated, her swirling blue eyes dimming slightly. "The starstone draws its power from life. To use it, we must give something in return." Liam's heart sank. "You mean we have to sacrifice something?" Nova nodded, her voice soft but firm. "Yes, but it does not have to be a life. It could be a memory, a piece of who we are. The starstone takes what it needs to maintain balance." Liam looked down at the starstone, his mind racing. He thought about all the people he cared about, his parents, his friends, Nova. What would he be willing to give up to save them? "What if we don't use it?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What happens then?" Nova's expression darkened. "The beings from my world will come for it. They will stop at nothing to claim its power. And if they succeed, they will destroy Earth, just as they destroyed my home." Liam clenched his fists, his heart pounding. "Then we don't have a choice. We have to use it." Nova reached out and placed her hand over his, her touch cool but comforting. "We will do this together. Whatever the price, we will face it together." Liam nodded, his resolve hardening. "Okay, let's do it." They stood, the starstone glowing brighter as they held it between them. Nova closed her eyes, her glowing markings flaring to life. Liam followed her lead, focusing all his energy on the crystal. The air around them began to hum, and a warm, golden light spread from the starstone, enveloping them in its glow. Liam felt a surge of energy, like a current running through his body. "Focus on Earth," Nova said, her voice echoing strangely. "Think of the world you want to save." Liam closed his eyes and pictured the Earth, its forests, its oceans, its people. He thought about his family, his friends, and all the lives that depended on them. The light grew brighter, and Liam felt a strange sensation, like something was being pulled from him. It wasn't painful, but it was unsettling, like a piece of himself was being taken away. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice filled with panic. "The starstone is taking its price," Nova said, her voice calm but filled with sorrow. "Stay strong, Liam. We are almost there." The light reached its peak, and then, with a final burst of energy, it faded. Liam opened his eyes and looked around. The woods were the same, but something felt different. The air was cleaner, the trees seemed greener, and the birdsong was louder than before. "Did it work?" Liam asked, his voice trembling. Nova nodded, her glowing eyes filled with relief. "Yes, the Earth is healing. But the price," her voice trailed off, and Liam felt a pang of fear. "What did it take?" Nova looked at him, her expression filled with sorrow. "It took a memory, a piece of who we are." Liam's heart raced. What memory? Before Nova could answer, a wave of dizziness washed over him. He stumbled, his mind racing as he tried to hold on to the memory that was slipping away. "Liam," Nova's voice echoed in his ears, but it sounded distant, like she was calling from far away. And then, everything went black. When Liam opened his eyes, he was lying on the ground, the starstone still glowing faintly beside him. Nova was kneeling beside him, her glowing eyes filled with concern. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft but urgent. Liam nodded, though his head was spinning. "I think so, but something's missing. I can't remember." Nova's expression softened. "The starstone took a memory. It is the price we must pay." Liam's heart sank. "What did I lose?" Nova hesitated, then reached out and touched his hand. "You lost the memory of how we met, but it does not change who we are. We are still together." Liam stared at her, his mind racing. He couldn't remember meeting her, but he knew one thing for certain. She was important to him. "Then we'll make new memories," he said, his voice filled with determination. Nova smiled, her glowing eyes filled with warmth. "Yes, together." And with that, They prepared for the final chapter of their journey, a journey that would test their bond and reveal the true power of the Starstone. Liam and Nova sat in the quiet of the woods, the Starstone resting between them. Its glow had dimmed, but its energy still hummed faintly, a reminder of the power they had unleashed. The air around them felt different, cleaner, fresher, as if the earth itself was breathing a sigh of relief. "It worked," Liam said, his voice filled with awe. "The earth, it feels alive again." Nova nodded, her swirling blue eyes filled with a mix of relief and sadness. "Yes, but the price we paid, it was only the beginning." Liam frowned, his heart sinking. "What do you mean?" Nova looked down at the Starstone, her glowing markings flickering faintly. "The Starstone's power is not just a gift. It is a test, and the test is not over." Before Liam could ask more questions, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The air grew thick, and a strange, electric hum filled the woods. "What's happening?" Liam asked, his voice filled with panic. Nova stood, her glowing eyes scanning the area. "They're coming." "Who's coming?" "The beings from my world," Nova said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. They felt the Starstone's power. They will not stop until they claim it. Liam's heart raced as he stood, clutching the Starstone tightly. "What do we do?" Nova turned to him, her swirling blue eyes filled with determination. "We must protect the Starstone. If they take it, everything we've done will be for nothing." The air around them crackled with energy, and the trees seemed to bend under an invisible force. Liam could feel the presence of the beings before he saw them, cold, powerful, and unrelenting. "Nova!" A voice boomed, echoing through the woods. "You cannot hide from us." The leader of the beings stepped into the clearing, his silver skin glinting in the sunlight. His glowing eyes locked onto the Starstone, and a cold smile spread across his face. "Give it to me," he said, his voice filled with menace. Nova stepped in front of Liam, her glowing markings flaring to life. "You will not take it." The leader's smile faded, replaced by a look of cold fury. "You have betrayed your purpose, Nova. You are no longer one of us." Nova's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. "I have not betrayed my purpose. I have found it, and I will not let you destroy another world." The leader's eyes narrowed, and he raised his hand. A surge of energy shot toward them, but Nova deflected it with a wave of her own power. "Liam," she said, her voice urgent, "you must use the Starstone. It's the only way." Liam hesitated, his heart pounding. "But what if it takes more from us? What if it takes everything?" Nova turned to him, her glowing eyes filled with warmth. "Then we will face it together. Trust me." Liam nodded, his resolve hardening. He held up the Starstone, its energy pulsing brighter as he focused all his thoughts on protecting Earth. The leader charged, his movements swift and precise, but Liam was ready. He thrust the Starstone toward him, and a blinding light filled the clearing. The leader stumbled back, his cold eyes filled with shock. What have you done?" Liam didn't answer. He could feel the Starstone's power surging through him, but he could also feel something else, a piece of himself being pulled away. "Nova," he said, his voice trembling. "It's taking more." Nova placed her hand on his shoulder, her touch cool but comforting. "Then let it take me." Before Liam could stop her, Nova stepped forward, her glowing markings flaring brighter than ever. She placed her hand on the Starstone, and a wave of energy shot through her, enveloping the leader and the other beings in a blinding light. "Nova!" Liam shouted, his voice filled with panic. But it was too late. The light faded, and the beings were gone. The Starstone's glow dimmed, and Nova collapsed to the ground, her glowing eyes flickering faintly. Liam dropped to his knees beside her, his heart breaking. "Nova, no. Please, don't leave me." Nova smiled weakly, her swirling blue eyes filled with warmth. "I'm not leaving you, Liam. I am becoming part of the Starstone. It is my purpose." Tears streamed down Liam's face as he held her hand. "But I can't lose you. Not after everything." Nova's smile softened. "You will not lose me. I will always be with you. In the Starstone. In the Earth. In you." Her glowing eyes dimmed, and her body began to fade, dissolving into a soft, golden light. The light swirled around Liam, filling him with a sense of peace and warmth. And then, she was gone. Liam sat in the quiet of the woods, the starstone resting in his hands. Its glow was faint, but he could still feel Nova's presence, like a whisper in the back of his mind. He stood, his heart heavy but filled with determination. Nova had given everything to save Earth, and he wasn't going to let her sacrifice be in vain. As he walked out of the woods, the sun shining brightly overhead, he knew one thing for certain. Nova's light would always guide him. And with that, the journey ended. But the story of the Starstone and the alien girl who saved the world would live on forever. Here is the story ends. If you enjoyed and want to watch more thrilling sci-fi adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Dive into epic battles, explore distant galaxies, and join brave heroes as they fight for survival against impossible odds. Let us know in comments if you want next chapters to publish soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of the journey. Together, we'll keep the last light burning. Subscribe now and let the adventure continue.